Very good to see so much people here. My name is Johan Lundin. I work for BFAM Partners, which is a small hedge fund based in Hong Kong. And I'm pleased to be on stage here with Goldman's.
Cool. Hi, everybody. My name is Mirza Beg. I work for Goldman Sachs Engineering. I lead mobile engineering and Symphony for the region.
So today we're going to talk about optimizing RFQs and how we do price discovery in the new world. But to give you a little bit of context before we starting our demos, let us give you a little bit of background so you can understand where we're coming from. So what we're going to start with is a little bit introduction of BFAM Partners, because most of you probably know Goldman's, but BFAM Partners is a little bit more unknown entity to most of you, I think. We're going to talk a little bit about volatility trading, because BFAM Partners is a big volatility trader. We're going to give you a demo what this looks like in practice, and what we actually do on the trading floor, so you get a sneak peek into the front office at hedge funds. After that, we're going to talk about a little bit rolling out an application like this, because this is one of the first buy-side applications being rolled out to the sell side. And after that, I could finish up with the future and where we see this app going. And after that, I'll hand over to Goldman's to get their side.
Cool. Yeah, so basically, Johan's going to talk you through some of the buy-side optimizations that he's implemented. Then I'm going to walk you through a little bit about how we've optimized on the sell side. And once we've done that, we'll give you a quick demo of the Goldman Sachs RFQ chatbot that we have created. And finally, just tying the whole story together about how this is going to be playing out in the future. Although it may sound like a bit of a sales pitch for some of the work that Gautam and Sid have shown you in the morning, but that's pretty much been our journey.
That's right, and even the people who've been speaking here earlier on stage, they're quite good representatives of who we were early adopters with. But before that, let me tell you a little bit about ourselves, BFAM Partners. BFAM Partners is a hedge fund in Hong Kong. We were founded by Benjamin Fuchs in 2012. We are a multi-strat hedge fund. I personally am responsible for the rates technology area, but we trade a lot of volatility, credit, and equity-linked products as well. We are one of Asia's biggest volatility traders. We have about $4 billion US under management. And we are expanding rapidly. Just during last year, we more than doubled in size, from about 40 to a little bit more than 80 people. We also believe that we are quite nimble, and we like to roll things out fast. And this is really where Symphony is helping us, because some of the other actors in this space are not moving as fast as Symphony let us do. So, most of you, I assume, are not aware of volatility trading. And to give you a little bit of introduction before you jump into the demo, I'm just going to describe what that is. And for that, we'll go back to the very basics of derivatives. And most of you are aware that an option is the right but not obligation to buy an underlying assets at a later time. So you have, at current time, you have a spot price, and you might buy an option at a later time, say 3 months later, at a different strike price. And if the current price is in the money at that time, you actually make money. Volatility trading is a little bit similar, but kind of the next level. That is when you both buying and selling options at the same time. So a very good example of this is trading a straddle. A straddle is buying both a put and a call option, so it's always going to be in the money. However, in order to make money, you need to have a price that moved away from where the strike price is at least sufficient so to cover the cost of the option itself. So how do we trade this in practice? Historically, it had been done by voice. And then for the past couple of years, it moved over to typing in chats. And typically what our traders do is that they go onto well-known IB chat, they type in the short message describing the straddle and the expiry and all the details. Then they wait for all the brokers to come back with prices. Normally, they come back after a few seconds saying pricing for you, and then it takes like 3 to 8 minutes roughly for us to get the price, depending on how complex the structure are. The traders then have to collect all the quotes and get them sorted in order of best price, then go back to the brokers and confirm who they're trading away. They might pass on all the prices, or they might tell the brokers that lost out on a deal that they're trading away with someone else. And finally, they manually, again, copying and pasting things into the internal trading systems. So this is a lot of painful manual work for traders that better spend their time managing their portfolios. So now we're going to demonstrate what this looks like in the current world. And this is used every day between Goldman's and ourselves and a number of other brokers. And now we're going to trade a straddle. So what you see on the left-hand side here is BFAM's internal trading systems, the gray area. Normally, we select the number of brokers, a little bit similar to the chatbot where we blast out an RFQ to multiple traders. But today, Goldman has the exclusive right to get their RFQ here on stage. So what we go out and we do is that we basically send over send out an RFQ over to Goldman's, and that pops up as a ticket on their screen.
Cool. So I'll basically be playing the typical salesperson on the desk in GS side, where I have now received an RFQ ticket from Johan. So one of the first things that I will do is make sure I acknowledge the ticket to make sure that we are participating in that RFQ.
Very good. And on our side, on the buy side, we can see it turn blue, which means we acknowledge from Goldman's that they're off pricing. So this normally takes 5 to 10 seconds from our fast brokers, and we wait a few more minutes to get a price back from the broker.
Cool. And slightly later in the demo, I'm going to show you how we actually generate the price on the sell side. But for now, I'm just going to enter a price and submit the quote. And conveniently, that pops up in our internal systems. And all we need to do on the buy side is we accept the price. If we have multiple prices, they'll be sorted in order, but now we just have the best price listed from Goldman's. So now, as a salesperson, I see the confirmation coming back to me saying, BFAM have accepted our bid and would like to trade with us. And I will go ahead and click accept, which will then send a confirmation back to Johan in the trading system that the trade is ready to go ahead.
And on our side, we see that turns into a green, a confirmed sell, and we don't need to do anything more. So here on the buy side, we did not do a single cut and paste or manual work. Everything feeds downstreams automatically. And this saves not only time, but it also saves a lot of hassle for the portfolio managers. So that concludes the demonstration of the BFAM bot. So just to recap on the benefits of this, all RFQs are sent directly from our internal system. There's no typing involved at all. The app collects all the quotes, all the leg information if you have multi-leg structures, and all the hedging deltas if we are agreeing on the hedges with the brokers. All the quotes are sorted automatically in best price, so there is no accidental trading on not the best price. And this is very important now, because what we're looking at is the authorities looking for best execution, and that's important for us as a hedge fund to execute at best price for our investors. So we now have everything in a structured format, so we can prove that we executed at the best price in all our deals. But rolling out an app is really the interesting part. Developing it initially is easy. So, but to give you a little bit idea of the journey we've been on, we have to go back in time a little bit to February. At this time, we just onboarded Symphony. Personally, I haven't used Symphony at BFAM for more than 6 months, so this will give you a little flavor of how easy it is to use. And back in February, I spent January writing up this app part-time, and then in February sent it off to Symphony for approval. So they go through a bit due diligence with the security reviews, penetration testing, and other things to make sure it's sound. By March, we started rolling this out to brokers, and this is where it really gets interesting, because writing up the app is the easy part. Getting adoption and changing the operating behavior of 12 investment banks in their front office might be a little bit harder. But if you've seen the demos earlier here today, you've seen the names on this page as well, and you can figure out who are the early adopters. And there's no surprise that Goldman is on this stage as well today. But we had a few other good early adopters as well. So BNP were quite early on, and Societe Generale was early on as well. So we had a couple of them early on, which meant that we could start doing technical integration testing with their tech department. So this is opening up firewalls and doing other due diligence that the banks want to do when you want to roll out software into their systems. By April, we already trained up the remote trading desks to use these applications. So we had, at that time, 3 brokers. And at that time, we had about 150 sales traders on the other side that were aware of the systems and already getting these tickets. Where we are right now, we also went live with Deutsche, and this app is used every day. Even though if you look at my phone, you'll get notification all the time. So this mute functionality we learned is coming soon to Symphony will be very handy for me. And going forward, there are plenty of things that we like to improve to this system. So this is very good in optimizing things for ourselves. Yep. But we like to provide simpler APIs on the sell side as well. And Mercer's going to talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Few things that we'd also like to support is runs, access, and we heard of IOIs as well here in a session earlier. And this is when the sell side like to send prices and things they like to axe over to us, where they basically want to offer good deals on things that they want to get off their books. So we would like to integrate that in the same system, and we also like to roll out to multiple other desks as well. And typically, we like to roll it out to the rates desk and into the FX desk, which we are also trading very actively on. With that, handing over to Mirza to talk about the sell side.
Cool. Thanks, Johan. So I guess that kind of explained to you, how the optimizations were achieved on the buy side. And the first time I actually saw that particular app and the bot, I thought it was actually pretty brilliant. I was quite excited to get our sales to start using it. But our sales team didn't really share the same excitement with me. And given that I'm not particularly from this particular area, I decided to dive a little bit more into the details. And here's what I found out. Now, in order to explain that, I'm going to have to give you a quick overview of how the RFQ process works on the sell side, right? Typically, a salesperson would receive an RFQ, and just to make sure, we keep the continuity, that's the string they would have received in a text form in the Bloomberg chat if it wasn't for the BFAM app, right? So now what the salesperson does is they'll pick that quote up, that RFQ up, and then translate that into a format that our applications would understand, right? So, and right at the bottom, if you can't read the text of that screenshot, you're not meant to anyway, but on the other hand, it shows you the complexity of some of these applications, which have these structured forms with multiple drop-downs and fields, because we need to make sure that some of these fields are validated, some of these inputs are actually validated. So they would go ahead, click a bunch of buttons, raise a quote with the trader receives the quote, prices it, either lets the salesperson know that I've already priced it, or they would actually, the salesperson would receive a notification inside their application that the quote has been priced. They take that quote, send it back to the client through the chat. Now, as you can see, it's a bit tedious, right? The application, the form entry, context switching, which is one of the reasons why we decided to actually introduce something called a chatbot for our sales side. For the sales team, pretty much. So what we do now is essentially the sales team on our side will go into this particular window, which is where they get to chat with the bot. And just for the demo, I've already typed in the string that's going to be raising the quote, and they press enter. Now what this does is essentially the bot is now going into our pricing systems and raising a quote with the traders. And in the next few seconds, I actually have somebody in Hong Kong who's going to price this and send me the information back. But what you see right now on the screen is a quote that is a link to the quote that it has been raised with the trader. So the salesperson can now go in, check the details, and make sure everything is okay. And while the trader prices this information out, they can actually just review all the details. Everything in the link is fine. Now, this is going to take a few seconds to come up, but essentially, I'm going to get back 3 things in the quote. One, oh, there you go, a tabular format of the quote that I've received here, and the string, which is basically our price from the trader. So as a salesperson, I can quickly copy this string here and send it to the salesperson, send it to the client, essentially. Or if I want to use the table to send to the client, I can do that as well. Now, the more important things are actually right below, whereby I can see the trade recap that has actually come in from the trader. So if I want to share this information with my client, which is typically things that they actually require as part of this workflow, I can send it across as well. So this kind of shows you how quickly people can now just raise a quote without having to context switch. So if I just go back to the presentation again, here, just recapping some of the advantages of using a chatbot instead of having to use the applications before. One, there's no context switching, right? Like, for example, if our salespeople actually receive the quote within Symphony, they can bring up the chatbot, type it quickly, and get it out. Secondly, the ability to raise the quote with minimal input. And as you saw before, instead of having to click multiple buttons, they're able to just type in the query and they get the quote back pretty quickly. And as a byproduct of it, we're able to quote faster to the clients. And Johan here would testify, one of the things that the brokers or the sell side get judged upon is the time it takes for us to respond to the queries. So as you can see, this proved quite popular with our traders and the sales team in EMEA. When we launched it last year, in early January, by middle of last year, the 80% of the queries were already going through this bot. And that's only down to because we were trying to introduce more and more assets for the bot to cover. So people find it really useful to start using it. So with that, I'd like to just tie the whole story together a little bit and just tell you what's actually happening in this RFQ space, right? So right at the top kind of shows you what used to happen before, sales and the buy side and the sell side using a chat application to communicate with each other while interacting with their systems on their sides separately. What Johan has done with the BFAM bot is essentially he is now able to send queries directly to our salespeople from their trading systems. And what we've done on our side is try to optimize the RFQ process by allowing our sales to interact with this pricing app. And we hope to externalize it so that one day clients can actually chat with this chatbot and be able to get the quotes themselves. But this is what I like to refer to as the bot-to-human workflow. And as obviously as it's probably going through everyone's minds here, why can't we have both our systems talking to each other? And this is what we started talking about probably sometime in March. But we quickly discovered a few challenges, right? One was, which schema are we going to follow? Because our chatbot followed a certain format. And Johan, when he built his bot, he followed a certain format. So one of us had to make a change. And that quickly led on to the other thought, which was, OK, even if we change it right now, in the future, we'll still have to essentially do this with every client. And Johan's going to have to do this with every buy side, which is doing that right now. And again, this is going to sound like the sales pitch for Gotham and Sid, but essentially that's where the Symphony RFQ service will be super beneficial to every one of us, right? I'm just going to bring up the last slide. The nirvana is there's a single service which everybody subscribes to. And from a technology perspective, it makes it super simple because I onboard the service once, and I can receive RFQs from multiple clients. Same on Johan's side. He subscribes to it once and blasts the RFQs to all the brokers that he's got on his side. Secondly, there's a common schema. This is probably one of the biggest problems in the financial industry, where if we all can agree to solve this particular problem, I think it'll be beneficial to every one of us. And lastly, this is probably a feature request, so to Gotham right there, if you're going to have a portal whereby clients or the buy side or the sell side, when they go into this particular portal, we can actually discover what are the digital capabilities that my counterparty has. Right? Because today, I have to go and call up every client and go like, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? But it would be awesome if I can just log into a portal and see what my clients can do. So with this, would like to close the presentation and just basically hope that all this is going to be implemented pretty soon. Cool. No pressure, go.
No pressure, no pressure.
Thank you very much.
Johan, thank you so much. That was awesome.